Not a lot of people realize this, but right now, the fate of the world is being decided. So let's summarize what is happening. The second US aircraft carrier, SS Carl Vinson, has just arrived to the Middle East and is ready and can strike Iran at any moment. While this is all happening, we actually have a war between the two biggest economies. Currently, the US has increased tariffs to 145% on goods imported from China. The Chinese have responded by increasing their own tariffs on US goods to 125%. But wait, there is more. As I speak, a very important conversation is happening in Russia. Stephen Witkoff, a special envoy for the United States, has just left Russia after another round of talks with the Russians. Tensions are high because the US is not happy with Putin's efforts to ending the war in Ukraine. In Israel, the IDF is continuing the war against Hamas and extending the territory that they control in the Gaza Strip. Tensions are also escalating over the territory of Syria. Turkey is not happy that Israel controls the Golan Heights in Syria, while Israel is worried about Turkey's intention to build military bases on the territory of Syria. We also had the visit of the President of France to Egypt, after which Emmanuel Macron said that France will likely recognize the Palestinian state. So as you can see, there is a lot of things going on. So let's get right to it. The United States are putting a tremendous pressure on Iran. Today, a very important meeting is happening in the country of Oman, where the United States will try to force Iran to abandon its nuclear program. And as the two parties sit down to talk about some serious matters, there are two aircraft carriers in the area. Just before the meeting started, the second US aircraft carrier, USS Carl Vinson, arrived to the coast of Oman. This means that the US has a tremendous amount of forces that are capable of striking Iran. And in recent days, President Donald Trump said that if those talks don't go well, then the other option is catastrophic for Iran, and it will mean the end of the regime in Iran. So, in a way, it's a very serious warning, because this amount of military is no joke, and Iran should really feel the pressure. So we will see how the talks will go today, but it is very, very serious, my friends. However, taking care of the Iranian military facilities will not be an easy task, even for the United States. If you think that Hamas is good at building tunnels, think again, because Iran is the master. Iran has tunnels that are much bigger, deeper, and containing many, many weapons that are very, very lethal. And much of those weapons are well hidden deep inside mountains, in caves that were dug into the mountains. So it's very, very difficult to destroy them. And really, the US is probably the only country in the world that can penetrate those facilities, because the United States have weapons that are bunker busters. The US has developed special kinds of missiles that can penetrate deep inside the ground and then explode, destroying everything hidden. Still, the Iranian facilities that are built inside mountains would be a major challenge, even for those missiles. Now, for both Israel and the United States, it is unacceptable for Iran to get nuclear weapons. Why? Well, for Israel, it is unacceptable because Iran threatens constantly Israel, and with a nuclear weapon, their threats would be much, much serious. And for the United States perspective, Iran cannot have nuclear weapons because when they will have nuclear weapons, then countries such as Saudi Arabia, Turkey would also want a nuclear weapon, and that would create more problems. So, the talks with Iran are happening today. We'll see what will come out of it. But President Trump said that if there will be a negative result, then an attack on Iran is on the table, and Israel will also be involved in that. At the same time, the United States are involved in another conflict of a different type, but also very serious and with consequences for the entire world. The two biggest economies are now fighting for the dominance over the world. The winner of this conflict will rule the world. We need to realize that since the end of World War II, the United States were the supreme leader of the world, and for decades they were not challenged. Well, friends, this is ending now. China is quickly gaining on the United States, and in some areas they are already ahead of the United States. And this is a very dangerous time in history, where one empire is threatened by another rising power. The United States will not want to give up their position as the number one, but China will certainly not want to comply and be number two. China sees their chance to overtake the United States, and certainly they will not hesitate. The trade war is the first stage of this conflict of empires, but it has a chance of escalating very, very quickly, because China says that they will not yield, they will not give up, and they will fight to the end. Those are very serious warnings. And when you thought things are bad enough, things can get much, much worse, because tensions are also rising between the United States and Russia. It is certainly not going according to the plan. Russia has very high demands and wants to control 4 regions that belonged to Ukraine. So the Kherson region, the Zaporozhye region, the Donetsk region, and the Lugansk region. But Ukraine says that this is not gonna happen. After 4 hours of talking, Stephen Witkoff left Russia yesterday. And really, there wasn't any statement after this meeting telling us that not much has been achieved. And this is certainly very, very frustrating for President Trump, who said he will finish this war very quickly. Well, the war is still continuing. And the frustration on the US side grows. And even Trump said that Russia needs to speed up their efforts. They need to start moving. And if they don't, then there will be consequences. What kind of consequences? We'll see. As I mentioned, tensions are also growing between Israel and Turkey. Both parties are not happy about their involvement in Syria. And recently, the Turkish government has been showing propaganda videos showing the Turkish military entering Jerusalem. We must not forget that Turkey has this ambition to be the regional power, and they are committed to achieving it. And lastly, we have this guy coming to Egypt. And I'm sorry I have to say this, he is being an absolute clown. I don't know what he's doing, I don't know what he thinks he is. Now he's pretending to represent a country that wants justice in the region, forgetting about the past, about that France was colonizing the region. They were colonizing Egypt, they were colonizing Syria, they were colonizing Lebanon, and now they want to show justice? I mean, they have no right to say anything because for years they were doing evil and now they want to be just. I mean, it's an absolute joke. So to summarize, things are heading into a very dangerous direction, especially if we look at the perspective of Israel. There is an alliance forming between Iran, China, and Russia. Iran, of course, is a sworn enemy of Israel. China and Russia are not. However, the closest ally of Israel, the United States, is now in conflict with Iran and China, and it may soon get in conflict with Russia. We have discussed this in this video. And if all those three nations decide that the United States is an enemy and Israel is its ally, then we can see how those nations can be united against Israel. Turkey so far is not part of this alliance, but it is an enemy of Israel, and we can see how they could also join this alliance against Israel. And what is astonishing is that the Bible describes this kind of conflict at the end of the age, where a lot of nations will gather their armies against Israel. Israel will be attacked from all sides. But there is hope. According to the prophecy, according to the Bible, God will defeat those armies. Are the days that we are living in now the days of those prophecies? Well, the pieces are certainly looking like they're falling in the right place. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope you it's hard to enjoy an episode like this, but I hope it was helpful for you to understand the seriousness of this situation. Please consider supporting the channel because this helps me as a creator and I can create those materials specifically for you. The Jewish people are now today starting the holiday of Passover, so I wish you a joyful time of Passover. It is another story where we learn about the faithfulness of God, how He frees His people from bondage. And this is what we pray this year, especially for the freedom of the hostages that are kept in Gaza. Shalom.